You don't need to work fast food or retail to start building up your resume. After 7 years of analyzing the job market and helping thousands of young adults launch into their careers, these are the top 5 things that are just as good for landing a job as relevant experience. It's a lot to go over, so please be sure to like the video and subscribe if you are new, and let's get right into it. First up, we have education by category. Take a look at these 2 resumes. Both of them are for the exact same person. Resume A only lists out their education factually, while Resume B lists out their skills and the experiences they got from their education categorically. There is no rule saying that your resume has to be contact information, education, and W-2 work history. If you took certain classes, or if you had certain lab work as part of your degree requirements, then absolutely list those on your resume, especially if you are applying to a field that leverages your degree in order to get a job. So if you want to be a field biologist for the Forest Service, then Resume B is going to be so much better than Resume A, even if you don't have directly related work experience. And that's because, especially in STEM, academic experience is experience. You just have to communicate the skills you used, the responsibilities that you had, and the outcome of your work as a student in a way that relates to the job that you're applying to. This trick saves my college students a ton of time and headache when they're applying to internships or their first entry-level job in their target industry. Moving on, we have related extracurriculars. And I say related because these kinds of activities carry a bit more weight. Yes, the fact that you played college football can and will look good on a resume, but that's a lot more related to point 5 that I'm gonna make later in this video. What I'm talking about are career-oriented clubs, extracurriculars, and professional development organizations, like joining a historical society as an aspiring archaeologist, or joining the rocket club at your school as an aspiring aerospace engineer. Relevant experience tends to snowball over time, and so if you do something like rocket club, that's gonna put you in front of professors who might bring you on to do a research project on thermodynamics, and then that might land you an internship at NASA, and then that internship at NASA is going to make you super competitive when you apply to be an entry-level full-time engineer. So starting small, but doing things early and often that relate to your career goals is one of the most effective ways to set yourself up for future success. Now, one that's a bit less obvious are volunteer experiences. I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. There is no rule and no societal precedent that says that you can't list volunteer experiences on your resume in the exact same way that you list work experiences. Like, you can say that you were a soup kitchen worker at a nonprofit or a church. That is totally okay. You know, I don't get paid to sit on the executive boards for career development organizations, but I still list those on my resume. And in fact, I put them on my resume under career education experience because I am giving up some of my time for the benefit of an organization in my field. And so not only is it okay to do this, but you should do this. Go volunteer with the Forest Service or a school or a church or whatever is in your purview and stick that on your resume. Once you escape the trap of feeling like you have to lean on job titles for paid positions at named organizations, you're gonna start to be able to maneuver through the job market with a lot more ease and a lot more like an established professional. With that said, you can also put things on your resume that you were not paid for and that aren't tied to some kind of nonprofit. Personal projects absolutely have a place on your resume, especially if you want to get into something that is either hyper creative or hyper technical. I had this student a few years back who was obsessed with Lego and wanted to work at Mattel, but because of physical disabilities and being at the university on scholarship, he wasn't able to do an internship over the summer, and he actually graduated with no work experience. But what he did do was spend all of his free time in the 3D printing lab making and designing his own Lego sets. And not only that, but he created an online portfolio to show his work. And this is the important part. He designed his own website portfolio and linked everything to that. His resume, he mentioned it in cover letters, put it on his LinkedIn, and then, unsurprisingly, when he was a senior and he started applying to jobs at Mattel, that portfolio was what got him the job, even though he graduated college with no work experience. And so if you have a capstone project, or a game that you've built, or a side hustle that relates to your dream career in some way, talk about that with employers. The point of a resume is not to prove that you've been a corporate slave for 3 to 5 years. No, the point is to prove to a target audience that you have the foundational knowledge, skill set, and/or experience necessary in order to get started doing the role that they're hiring you for. Don't let HR nonsense like years of experience and the ability to lift 50 pounds stop you from applying to positions that can slingshot your life and your career. And so the next thing you should put on your resume is literally anything that you can market effectively to an employer. Did you do a study abroad? Do you speak languages? Do you have a micro credential? Have you won awards? Any experience you have is as good as you can communicate it effectively to somebody else. And the flip side of this is also true. I have seen accomplished and charismatic students fail to launch into their professional career because they don't relate their degree or their internships to the jobs that they're applying to. They think that titles just speak for themselves, but they don't. Or they try to impress employers by talking about their experience in a subjective and context-specific way instead of talking about it in a way that resonates with them. Like saying that they were the best salesman on a team instead of saying that they sold X units of whatever they were selling exceeding Y benchmarks. Even the most unrelated experiences can still become relevant if you talk about how the skills that you got translate into the position that you're applying to. And I want to help you do that. This week on the channel is going to be Resume Week. I'm releasing 3 videos on resume topics this week. We've got how to get started, which is this one, what does and doesn't work when building a resume, and then whether or not AI-generated resumes actually work and if they are worth it. They're all going to be short and digestible like this one, so please be sure to subscribe so that you can get notified about those videos, and I will link them in this playlist right here.